Hello, we'll be right with you.
Hi. Okay.
On then, Chris. This works. Oh, hello.
Hi, Maggie.
How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm good. Sam, right?
Yes, you look nice.
Oh, thank you very much. I dropped my cigarette a minute ago.
Oh, that happens.
Hey, you know, it's been stressful. It's been a stressful week. How have you been?
Oh, the same, I guess. Just, what's next week gonna look like? Who knows? Just trying to figure out what every week is.
Every
Go
week.
through each
something.
week, every week.
Yes, exactly. Every
Uh,
thing.
man.
Joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm a fan.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do. It's been interesting being here, doing all of this. We're not supposed to be here. We're actually from another place. But you know what? Puppets can't get COVID, so we're good.
Oh, that's great.
Yes,
Are you
exactly.
vaccinated? Is that why? Or
No,
just
we're just
genetically?
immune to it. It doesn't do anything to us. If anything, it's just like, whatever.
That's
This is
great.
gonna kill me.
Well, at least you get to pick.
Well, exactly. Yes, this is my rules. I get to do what I want.
Mhm.
Let's get started. You look lovely, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie.
Yes, wonderful. And so let's get started. This is Samm Severin. She's with Small, the band. She's also done comedy. You live in Atlanta right now, right?
Yes.
Wonderful. How long? Well, where are you from originally?
I'm from outside of Atlanta, suburbs. So I guess I lived in the city since like 2013. So not that long, but was always around the
Grew up
area.
in the suburbs of Atlanta. What was that like?
It was pretty boring. I mean, obviously, I don't want to take for granted that it was, or school had like an orchestra and stuff, and that was really good. But it was really isolating. I just remember reading about like people going to concerts and people being part of a scene, and that felt as a teenager like I longed for that, and that felt so far away. Um,
Well,
so I mean, and it wasn't that far. It was just down the road.
Well, it never is. It never is. When you're young, it seems like tomorrow's always so far away. And then you get older and you're like, oh shit, here I am.
Yeah.
Right. What do I do now?
Mhm.
Well, so to that point, you said that you had an orchestra. How long have you been playing music? Don't you play more than one instrument, right?
Yes, I've been playing music since I was little. When I was maybe 10 or 11, I took a couple months of piano. And I didn't stick with it, but I mean, I was young enough that it like built a foundation of like a very vague understanding of music theory. And then a couple years after that, when I got to middle school, the school I went to had an orchestra and I got to learn violin. And that was awesome. I'm so incredibly grateful for getting to learn that when I was so young. And then when I got a little bit older and was like, this music doesn't like sound like freedom to me. I started playing guitar and writing songs. Then had a couple like bands that never even like got to their first show. And so Small's my first. Um, this is the first band where I've felt like we were like on a project together. And yeah, I feel like this is my first band, kind of.
Well, and you sing and you play guitar in the band. No violin in this band, though.
No violin in this band. No, just guitar. In quarantine, I've been writing a lot of songs on piano, and I want to put those out at some point. But first, I'm really concerned with getting Small's songs out because I really love my friends and we sound so nice together and they're great. I'm so glad my friends are in my band.
Well, the band sounds fantastic, by the way. It reminds me.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it reminds me. Since we've been here, I've listened to a lot of '90s, like rock and punk, and it sort of reminds me. It's a bit inspired by that. I mean, is that Is that some of your inspiration, some of your, where you draw from?
Yeah, for the last like 10 years, my favorite band's been Nirvana. Um, and I'm kind of the person, I don't, it's something with my neurology or whatever. I, I find something I like, and then that's the only thing I like for a very long time. I mean, not that that was the only music I listened to for 10 years, but I could just listen to any Nirvana album on repeat at any time over the last 10 years. And I'm kind of trying to push myself into like listening to something different. I started listening to The Strokes, which was a big change. I think it was good for me. Um, but yeah, I pretty much just wished I was in Nirvana when I started small.
Well, excellent choices all the way around. And now you also do comedy. So talk a little bit about your comedy and about what got you into doing comedy. Why you?
I did comedy for like 9 or 10, I guess 9 years in Atlanta. And I kind of did it on I mean, I've always been into comedy. My little sister and I watched every single Comedy Central presents, and like recited them to each other constantly. Like, always loved comedy, always been around people that love comedy. And then towards the end of when I was in college, I just kind of found myself like writing jokes. And my boyfriend at the time, who's still my very good friend, we podcast together. We were kind of on the verge of this breakup, and we're kind of just writing jokes together about what we were facing. And I went and did an open mic at Star Bar, and I just had the experience of being like, I mean, your first set's not like good. I'm sure it wasn't good, but I felt good. And I hadn't really had that experience of being like, oh, I'm doing something and it feels good. And I feel like that was maybe my first time actually performing. Um, I mean, I played, recitals or orchestra stuff or whatever here and there, but that really felt like I had unlocked performing. And it was just crazy to me that I was like, I just can keep doing this. Um, and then Atlanta was like the place to foster. If like at the time, especially, I know now everything's shut down, but at the time and the group that was there, it was really easy to just like dive in and get plugged into everybody and spend all your time at open mics. And that was great for me for a really long time. That was really good.
Well, so you started doing comedy first and then the band.
Yes, yeah. The band's recent. So the band started I guess like 2 years ago actually, which is a lot longer than I think. It feels like we just started like 6 months ago. But we've gone through a couple lineup changes, and we've like disposed of songs and gotten new songs, but I always forget that we have a longer history than 6 months. But yeah, the band was a newer thing. I mean, I was probably 28 or 29 when I started small, which felt late, but what can you do?
But you had some experience then. You had some knowledge about the world and you could write about things, which sort of brings me to my next question, which is what's it like breaking up? Because, we're talking about loss today. What's it like breaking up, leaving someone behind? I mean, you're still friends with one ex. I mean, you're presumably not all of them.
Most of them actually.
Oh,
I don't like to the thought of any the thought of losing anything is like so paralyzing to me. Um, which is not realistic. Like things get lost and people get lost. But I kind of can't I don't deal with that very well, and I cling onto things way too tightly. I'm not comfortable with the winds of change. I really wish I was, because they're fucking coming, no matter what. Am I allowed to say that?
oh, absolutely. Yeah, yes, yeah, you say
Sorry.
whatever the fuck you want.
Oh, thank you. I don't want to offend your sensibilities. You look so proper. So thank you. Um, uh, but yeah, I have such a hard time. There is a point like in a relationship when you're in like a one-on-one monogamous relationship where the end is coming, and it's always, it's never like you break up and you're like, what? I thought I didn't think we were gonna break up. Like breakups don't come out of nowhere. Breakups are a process. They take a while to take. They don't always stick. There's a lot of things that lead up to a breakup, and once I enter that realm of like seeing what's coming, um, I feel really uneasy. Um, I really double down on my clinging and double down on the like, what efforts can I put forth to ensure that no loss happens? Which again is futile. You can't do that. You have to let people go. Um, and what happens is I resist and I resist and I resist and I resist, and a breakup will happen eventually because that's what needs to happen in so many cases. And then what I've found, and I'm so grateful for this, a lot of times I've found that kind of releasing the role someone has in my life that's not working for either one of us, I has allowed a new space where I can appreciate them and learn to love them again. And never immediately. I mean, it always takes years before it's okay again. But yeah, I do always, it's not like I try to make an effort to be friends with all my exes, but it's more so like once I've committed to having someone in my life, I can't bear the thought of that not being true.
It's
I don't
difficult.
know if that's normal.
Well, no, I think it is. I mean, it's difficult for people to let go. Once you've let someone into your life, it feels like, oh, did I waste my time? Did I waste my effort? But this person's not a waste. They're a person, they've got feelings and a life, and like, they didn't ask for certain things in their life, and you don't want to throw people away.
Yeah. Yeah. And realizing that a breakup is not, it's not disposing of somebody. It's releasing yourself from the role you have in their life. It's releasing them from that role. Um, but all the I have so much discomfort around change. I mean, it's like anytime one I have OCD too. So that's like people call it the doubting disease, which is I think such a great thing to refer to it as. But once the implication of one change is presented, I kind of spiral and think of all the other changes. Like I remember a long time ago dating somebody and they like got a different job, which was great. They didn't like their old job and they got a new job. And I didn't want them to be in the job they didn't like, but then the way I reacted to that internally was you got a new job, you're going to meet somebody else at the new job, you're going to leave me. Like any change that happens, I jump to what is the nearest catastrophe adjacent to that change, which are not rational change. Like, no, like my partner got a job. Fuck yeah. I should be so happy. Like, and I was, but I always had this like undercurrent of like doubting and like what does this lead to? And so at the thought of like putting space between somebody I'm close to, I go like, well, that's gonna lead to I'm losing you now. Um, which again is not true.
No,
It's just what has to happen.
it's well, exactly. It's change, but it can be scary. Changes, I think, for a lot of people, change is very scary. It's something that they teach you a lot in meditation. It's like every day things are going to change, and it's okay. You've got to accept that, because life and nature are all about change.
Mhm. That's true. I think meditation would really help me. There's been periods where I had it in as part of my like daily or weekly practice, and I did benefit from it. But I have a terrible time sticking with things. So I it worked for me. It was good for me, and yet I still somehow didn't carry on with it.
Well,
Um,
that's the most difficult thing, doing it day in, day out. It's not easy. Now,
mhm.
speaking of loss, another thing that's happened is like you mentioned, the pandemic and venues are closed, and so you've not had a lot of opportunities to perform either comedy or music. And so you've gotten some press here lately with talking about your OnlyFans, which you've used to help supplement your income. Let me talk a little bit about that and how vulnerable you had to be to do that.
Um, it does feel vulnerable, but I'm not sure why. Like, I mean, I understand what is vulnerable about being naked. Of course, that's obvious, but um, my comedy was really vulnerable. And I always felt like so strengthened by that vulnerability. Like that I was making myself stronger by sharing my human experience with people who would go, "Hey, I'm a human too, and I have a human experience also." And then I'd feel that that was just a strengthening practice to be vulnerable. And with being naked on OnlyFans, I eased into it pretty slowly, just like showing one tit before I would show two tits or whatever. I really took my time and eased into it because it was something I wasn't comfortable with entirely. I mean, I'm 30, I'm comfortable in my body. I've been in it long enough, and but I just was, and I started to question. I was like, okay, if I could get a little more comfortable with this and really, sit down and be a little more business-like about this and take initiative and run this well and got comfortable with being naked or making videos or whatever, I could stand to benefit financially, which we live under capitalism. Financial benefit is freedom. Unfortunately, that's like the only route to freedom. If you don't have money, you're not free, which is terrible. It kind of means none of us are free.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, so I was like, well, I could benefit financially, which leads to I fix my car, I buy this, I buy that, I buy Christmas presents. It like leads to all these wonderful things. Or I could honor this discomfort, which I think there's so many situations where you have to honor your discomfort because it's right. And you're uncomfortable for a reason to protect yourself from harm. But I really looked at that discomfort and I said, is this discomfort protecting me? Or is this something that is like tied into shame? Is this that I don't is am I uncomfortable with putting dollar worth on my body? Something that's going to happen whether or not I consent to it. Like I've spent my whole life, buying beauty products, doing crazy diets that were bad for me. I put so much energy and money into the performance of being a woman. And I'm going to keep paying into that as long as I live. Why would I not try to get some of that back? So ultimately, I was a little bit uncomfortable at first, but I feel good about it now. I kind of have my rhythm down and gotten more comfortable in front of my camera and everything. But at first, it was like I just saw discomfort that was. I said, "Is this helping me and protecting me, or is this harming me? And is this tied into that I shouldn't financially benefit off of this thing that I have to do anyways, kind of. Not masturbating or whatever, which I do have to do anyways, but I mean the performance of putting on makeup and making myself pretty and buying nice clothes is yeah, like we all got conned. We all had to do this performance, men and women and anyone in between. We're all performing gender. I would like to be compensated.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. There was a science fiction writer I know who wrote some early Star Trek, and he said, "Just be the damn writer." It's like you don't write, you don't do your work for free. You don't just, look, we exist here. We've got to continue to exist in this, money. I've been learning all about your damn money and all that shit I've got to do. Thankfully, we've got lots of food. We don't need much, and mostly eat sticks. So yeah, it's a puppet diet for you. I know it's very handy. But anyway, that's enough about me. Look, Sam,
That's cool.
we've run out of all the time, I'm afraid. I've got to get going, but I want to thank you so much, so much. This was a really wonderful talk.
This was great. I'm so excited. I finally got to meet you. I've seen your picture and I just think you're so cool. And this has been a dream.
Well, thank you so much, and likewise, big fan. And we're going to talk about this later, and we'll send you a link, of course, when everything's up and ready to go.
Okay. All right. You be safe, Maggie.
Thank you so much, Sam. Talk to you soon.